Hello everyone, my name is Xiao Shui Jing, a research student from Hong Kong Polytechnic University School of Design. Today I am going to present the topic of architectural intervention through relational design towards sustainable development in a vulnerable rural community. I will introduce the design principle and practice of it through a case study of a project we did in 2015, which is building superadobe house in leprosy rehabilitation village called Xiao Shui Jing. The project was initiated by Andrew from his foundation. Today I'm honored he will be with us in the Q&A section if anyone wants to ask questions afterwards. Max is my husband who is a social worker and we participate in the project together. And Peter is my research supervisor who guides me throughout my research journey. And today I will present it on behalf of the team. Okay, we begin to ask what is the current model of rural development. The prevailing approach is a top-down model, which usually focusing on communities' needs, problems, and deficiencies in a need-based top-down outside-in approach. Under top-down plan, the construction work fashioned to emphasize speed, efficiency, and economic growth. They often ignore people's main concerns like livelihoods, traditions, and cultures. Moreover, it may create dependency because they become to believe that their well-being relies on others. Another approach is bottom-up approach, which focuses on communities' assets, capacities, and strength in an asset-based, bottom-up, inside-out approach. Although this approach is usually small-scale and taking long time, it can better respond to people's social needs. The design process itself could be a healing process. Why do I say it is a healing process? Rural area usually features poverty. According to Corbett and Fikkert, poverty is not only about material need, but it means different forms of broken relationship, including broken relationship with self, like low self-esteem or dignity, broken relationship with others, like no love or trust to others, broken relationship with the rest of the world, like lack of the ability to manage and steward the resources around us, and broken relationship with spirit, like no hope or belief in life, or it could be more religion related, like in Christian, it is about the relationship with God. Everyone, including you and me, are in certain forms of broken relationship, but it is especially obvious for rural marginal community. Other scholars have also talked about the connection between sustainability and relationship. Bollier has said that value does not inherent in objects. It arises from relationship. He said value is virtually the same word as care, because you care for what you value. Value is not fixed and static. It arises at the same time when living beings interact with each other. Thackara further saying that sustainable design is about reconnection of relationships, and creating this relationship is a design opportunity. This research project is to explore to what extent architectural intervention can restore relationship in a vulnerable community, including reconnect relationships between self, reconnect relationships between others, and reconnect relationships between environment. Participatory action research approach is applied in the research which focuses the process of participation and action. The following method or steps are used in the research, which is partnership, asset-based, and participation. And we will use building superadobe house in Xiao Shui Jing leprosy rehabilitation village as a case study to illustrate. First of all, maybe you are not familiar with the background of leprosy rehabilitation villages. I did not hear of these villages before this project as well. Back in China, 1950s, people's communes were established during the Great Leap Forward, implementing centralization of life. In the past, leprosy has not been very influential to others. Since people are centralized and they are afraid of infection, Therefore, at that time, the country began to build leprosy villages to isolate leprosy patients. The whole country have established more than 700 leprosy villages. Since 1980s, China has fully implemented the combined chemotherapy treatment, and patients can be fully cured. Physical isolation could therefore be eliminated. However, leprosy discrimination can hardly be eliminated. They stayed at the same place since then and formed the leprosy rehabilitation villages nowadays. Now we talk about the first principle, which is partnership and understand the reality. Understanding social and environmental vulnerabilities involves the analysis of the risks and assets of disadvantaged groups. However, a deep understanding of an area requires long-term observation and research, and it is extremely difficult under the limited time of a project. More and more design teams will choose to work with other humanities teams to conduct preliminary research, tapping interdisciplinary cooperation and partner with local social work and NGO to minimize the barrier between the vulnerable group and achieve long-term operation. For our research project, it was initiated by a foreign NGO, his foundation, partnered with local NGO, architects, social workers, and volunteers. It was started by building trust and relationship with local NGO and the vulnerable group, establishing common goal and determining the role of each parties. XiaoShuiJing Leprosy Rehabilitation Village was being introduced by the local NGO, which is an isolated village high on the mountain in Yunnan, China. We found out that the village was on the mountain with a very poor accessibility. No vehicle could go up the mountain road and only accessible by foot with an hour walk. The living situation was very bad. Some houses were structurally unstable, and some villagers were staying in the same house with animals. After in-depth interview with the villagers, they told us houses was one of their biggest concerns. Under observation, they revealed a low self-esteem, a poor relationship with neighbors, tendency to depend on others, and did not have much hope in life. Next principle we use is access-based. It starts with the perspective that all individuals have the ability to contribute to the community, and everyone has the resources that they can use to change their situation. A comprehensive map of assets can be drawn up, begin with the inventory of community residents' gifts, skills, and capacities. Craftsman mentioned that when in a community whose assets are being fully recognized and mobilized, these people too will be part of the action, not as clients or recipients of aid, but full contributors to the community building process. This provides ways of working to focus on strengths and abilities rather than problems and deficiencies. Back to our project. After understanding the situation, the research team went back to search for possible solutions with the community's limited access. They found out that there was a building system called superadobe, created by the architect Nader Khalili. It is an economical and environmental friendly system, convenient for disaster regions as well as low-income areas. The superadobe system's main materials are long sandbags, barbed wire, on-site earth, and a few simple tools. The construction is easy and flexible, and also time efficient. Everyone is capable to build. It can utilize the capabilities of villagers and solve the material transportation problem. The research team communicate with the local social workers and ask them to consult the villagers if they're willing to learn this kind of architecture. After getting the consent of the villagers, The research team took an intensive training at Cal Earth to further understand the building technique. Then we back to the village to make sure the earth composition was suitable, double-check all the tool supplies were available at local markets, and conduct some initial site measurements. An introduction workshop was held in the village to explain all the details. The aim of building the architecture was not just solving the problem of the collapsing house in the village, but to empower the vulnerable people, to let them know they are totally capable to change the current situation with their own power by using the existing asset within the community. The final step is participation. The theory of participation begins from the basic viewpoint that those impacted by the design should have a voice in the design process. It developed project strategies and helped resources-weak stakeholders to participate efficiently and ensure that existing skills could become an asset in the design process. It is essential because the vulnerable people want to be personal independence, be part of the society and have contribution so that they can have dignity and feeling of self-worth. People own what they participate in and will have passion and ownership of a project. In our research project, we have invited villagers to participate throughout design and construction stages. We had discussed the size, location, and orientation of the architecture together with the villagers, then asked them to clear the walks and prepare for the foundation. It gave the chance for the villagers to make use of their capacity and showed trust in them. At the same time, we wait for the slack farming season to come again in order to have more villagers to participate together. For the third time of returning to the village, the site and material were ready. At the beginning, few villagers participate. They tend to observe a while and went back to do their own things. Some tried to keep a distance and still had doubt in the intention since seldom had people care for them. Also, the villagers did not have a close relationship within the community and not used to work together. It takes time to build up a relationship. As time went by, more villagers started to join in the building process. Due to weather influence, the building process suspended several times during raining and snowing period. The team come back and forth with different volunteers and professionals. Although it was a very small architectural building, even not with an appealing appearance, through the participatory building process, the vulnerable people felt that they were being valued, cared, and loved. There was a substantial change in their relationship and attitude after a year-long participation process. In the process, the villagers gradually restored the relationship with themselves with growing self-esteem and had improved the relationship with the neighbors in the community. They had also stewarded the fruits from their own labor in the building process. To conclude, we identify partnership, asset-based, and participation is effective as an architectural intervention, fostering people's life essentials to improve the relationship with self, relationship with others, and relationship with environment, in the form of a stronger sense of self-worth, better community cohesion, and increased ability to work productively and steward the fruit of labor, with the superadobe building project in XiaoShuiJing village as an example. The vulnerable people now have the ability and recognize the assets that can continue to improve their living environment. It suggests a sustainable and practical pathway opposed to the traditional top-down model. Due to the time and manpower, the short-term architectural intervention came to an end. More study remains for future research to further validate and evaluate. That's all for the presentation. Thank you very much for listening.